What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video journaling episode. Today a bit more quiet because I kinda had an argument with my mom, but it resulted in my mom telling me about her life, kinda, especially with my dad, because they're divorced now because of stuff, and that was really sad. Her life is really sad because of two decisions, and that is crazy. Like, that is crazy. Your whole life just because of two decisions. Fucked up. That's crazy. Because, she used to live in Russia. Damn, my throat hurts. Okay. She used to live in Russia, right? And she told me, like, during a business, because she studied in the evening and worked during the day. So, in one of those business meetings, there was a guy from Germany, also in Russia, and he asked for her number, and she didn't think much of it. What the fuck is that? Didn't think much of that. But then he started calling her every day, and back then it cost like a lot of money, it cost a lot of money to call to Russia from Germany. And so, slowly, and like she said, like, in the same year he came to meet her in Russia, because he called every day, spoke every day, and then he even came to meet her again in the same year, and like, pretty much soon after, he was kind of pressing her to get married soon, and she was like 20 at the time, and he was 30, and so they got married, and she moved to Germany. Oh my god! Wait a second. Oh, but yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, she moved to Germany, and imagine, like, moving to Germany, and like moving to a foreign country. You don't speak the language at all. Like, she said they spoke English on the calls, right? She doesn't speak the language. She just moves there with 20 years old, yo. I know people who are 20 and what? Imagine myself in 1.5 years, or even less, in a bit more than a year. If I would travel to a country I don't speak the language to, let's say Spain or something. No, like 0% knowledge. Let's say, the fuck are you doing, dog? Let's say Syria. Imagine I would move to Syria and no one there would speak English. Or Africa. I couldn't. What? That's so crazy. And like, her English is not even that good, so yeah. So she was there, and then my dad, apparently when he was 19, had like a car accident, and like, there was even a piece of something. Was it the road or was it a piece of metal? I don't know. But basically, there was something even in his brain, so that caused him to, have like actual mental issues, not like today's generation, but like actual ones. And his childhood is, that's also fucked up, honestly. Like, he's the biggest red flag there is. Like, his childhood was just abusive father, and drunk and abusive father, mother who couldn't care for the children because she was literally, shut your bitch ass up, dog. mother who was literally, you know, not even working, but fighting for survival just for herself, even every single day. Like, obviously the children, and apparently the dad or my dad's brother. So, like, from my dad's perspective, either his brother or his dad, I don't remember which one it was, even tried to stab his mom. So, literally, it was fucked up, completely fucked up childhood of my dad. So obviously he's not gonna be much better. Well, my mom said like, oh, he did better in the terms that he provided us financially, but obviously that's not nowhere near all because he kind of, no, not kind of, he ruined my mom's life. It's crazy. But also marrying someone in like the same year that you meet them is completely insane. Like those were the biggest two mistakes. Like, you know, moving to Germany, or like no, actually the mistakes were giving the number and like moving to Germany and marrying him. Because especially when thinking back on it, like who would honestly willingly give themselves to a guy who's like who is actually mentally insane and has a completely fucked up childhood, like honestly. And uh, and yeah, and so when she was with my dad, she had to work all the time. She said like basically my brother was on his own from 3.5 years old till 3.5. She was always with him, but after that all she had to do was work, even overtime the whole time, at my dad's company. So that was crazy. So I guess my dad kind of thought like, oh, all I need to do is pay the money and no emotional connection whatsoever. He's also a bit of a, like I said, mentally actually crazy. Oh, my throat. Like he my mom sometimes told me like he got new, that's also so crazy, he got new wives after my mom, and they were together for like half a year or a year of being like, imagine that you meet someone, you marry them right away, and then half a year later you divorce them, and or a year later you divorce them. What the fuck. Yeah, so basically actually the mistakes were marrying a stranger and marrying someone and giving it. I don't fuck it. Doesn't matter. There were mistakes made. Mm, yeah, but he like, you know, he's apparently a good talker, not in a positive way. He's a good manipulator, a really good one. That's also so fucked up. You know, when when they were divorced, it was like when they got divorced. I remember some of it actually, because the event that kind of triggered it was, she told me, was like one Saturday morning, she like he was asking her, oh, did you do this? And she wasn't really there because it was Saturday morning, so she was like, oh, I don't know. And he completely went crazy, kicked around stuff, yelled at her, and she was so tired of him, because imagine living for a decade with such a human who constantly yells at you, makes you work overtime, who sometimes does not pay you your money, even though you're his employee and husband. What the hell? What the hell? You know? Who basically, she called it a golden cage because everything is there, but nothing is yours. Yeah. So she was done with it. So she took like a very tiny keyboard and like tried to hit him with it or something. And then he went and grabbed her by the throat, pinned her down to the ground. Pinned, yeah, pinned her to the ground. And well, first of all, woman against man, and second of all, fat man versus skinny woman. What do you do? Especially when, you know, average people who don't know martial arts or anything. You do nothing, right? You're cooked as a woman. Even if you know martial arts, low-key, you have to be really good to surpass an average man. And it's so... It is what it is, you know. But then we, like, my brother and I, were, like, saw that scene when he was on top of her, you know, choking her. And she said, that's, like, you two were gonna be, you know, grown too, husbands too one day. And I can't make you believe that it's okay to just, you know, beat and yell at your wives like that. So that's why she kind of, and because she was fed up with him treating her that way, you know, that's why she that's why she went with me one day. I remember that day. She was like, "Oh, you want to come with me to the city? It's gonna take a while." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." I was a thing in elementary school, and she, well, took me to the police station, you know, because I remember because the whole afternoon I was outside in the city, even though I didn't want to. Shut up, dog. Yeah, I remember that because it was a really boring one afternoon. And then I remember the police escorting us back to our home and then taking my dad in a car. That's actually so fucked up, Loki. Yeah, and then lots of stuff happened. Tried to ruin her life. But she did actually a very good job. And it's such a sad life. I don't know. Yeah, she gave everything, her whole life, for literally a stranger. She married a stranger, gave her whole life for him. And what did he do, yo? That's crazy. What did he do? Yeah, and then she, thankfully for us, I would have been such a different human. I would have probably been just like my dad had she not stepped up at that moment. And that's so crazy. I would have been such a fucked up human if, yeah. My brother is also low-key fucked up. He's been getting a lot better actually recently. He's also kind of fucked up because obviously, imagine since 3.5 years old, you're at home alone. You have a dad that beats you. A mom who yells at you constantly. Apparently, even one time, my mom was close to a burnout, so she was staying at like some hospital or something. And my dad wanted her out of it so he could, you know, control her better. And she refused, and then he took pills, you know, and collapsed in front of my brother. And he had to call ambulance, you know, and all that. He basically tried suiciding. That's crazy. So he was a huge manipulator, you know. It's actually crazy to break free from someone like that when you actually have kids and responsibilities, you know. So crazy. Yeah. And also I have food in front of me, but sadly, the ingredients that I bought are shit. Okay. Low quality, and yeah, now I understand why I should buy higher quality ingredients. The whole argument with my mom started because I bought shit ingredients, and she's like, "Why the fuck did you buy these ingredients?" Yeah, and that's how she told me this story. Yeah. Now I feel really bad because my mom had such a rough life. So I can understand if she yells at me, but yeah. Especially when she called herself a bad mother. That was tough. Like, she's not horrible. I mean, she's human, obviously, she made mistakes, right? But I think she was a good. So, yeah. I'm gonna eat now, and we'll see you in the next one.